Hello everyone, Wave here. So this YouTuber called WhaleStat made a video about the Raiden Shogun and her C0 sucks. He also states that this is the truth about free-to-play BAAL, but the like-to-dislike ratio seems a bit suspicious. Me, fellow Genshin creator, is just going to react to it and giving my opinion about. I'm not a free-to-play. I pay for the monthly Waking Moon and for the monthly Battle Pass like a standard Genshin Impact player. So I think I have a good standpoint on this. It was lucky with the BAAL banner. I got BAAL 2 times, but not Terra Spear. But yeah, we have the catch for that, the new fish spear you get. So let's enjoy this video. I'm gonna pause in between, analyze it, and yeah, give my opinion and stuff. It's obviously a reaction. Let's go.
Alright, so in the midst of making some guides for new characters introduced in update 2.1, I've come to certain realizations that I feel need to be conveyed before I even put those out. Right now, the Raiden Shogun is a whale-oriented character, and it is not okay. Hello,
Really?
Kings, Queens, and Majesties, welcome.
But isn't like every character a whale-oriented character? Except for maybe like Shao, because his constellations are not that great, but yeah, let's see.
I am Slice of Otaku. Now, I'm going to preface all this by saying that I love the Raiden Shogun. When she was first revealed, I honestly only default liked her. I liked her because she was an Archon character. However, with how absolutely incredible the story of Genshin Impact has proven itself to be, with the region of Inazuma, with most of its contents in some way...
Yeah, that's true. The story got much better. Like, I skipped every single story quest in Mondstadt. I was a bit interested in Leeway, especially with the Zhongli quest, and Inazuma was great. I barely skipped anything, but yeah.
Around her presence, I have certainly
Great character
for her. Now couple that with the fact that despite having pulled for every 5-star character in the game at this point, she is the only one to have graced me with her presence in my very first summon, and it feels like it was meant to be. Right now I have her at level 90, Constellation 3, and fitted with her best weapon, Engulfing Lightning.
Okay.
And with all that, suffice to say she feels pretty damn strong. However, I don't imagine that to be the case for the vast majority of players with her. As I and several other people it would seem see it, the Raiden Shogun suffers from a few issues. First and foremost, the looming issue that isn't necessarily tied to her individuality is that she is an Electro character. The Electro element has been offensively lackluster for quite some time now.
It actually got a bit buffed, but yeah, it's still the most lackluster an element of every element right now. Dendro isn't out yet, so I can't give my opinion about that.
And the subject of numerous discussions. Many players have hoped that Electro would be buffed with the release of the Electro region, but alas, such is not the case. Now in the face of the—
What, it wasn't buff? I thought it was. Okay.
Once underwhelming Geo Archon Zhongli, Geo received a buff. And interestingly enough, we seem to be on the precipice of a similar—
Yeah, Zhongli was already great, and after that he became godlike.
Situation with the Raiden Shogun, as MiHoYo seems to be receiving a lot of backlash from the Chinese community. Now the thing about this is that they are primarily upset about a lack of Beidou synergy, as Beidou's burst does not trigger alongside the Raiden Shoguns. Now for me at least,
that's bad.
Own due diligence, this majorly seems to be a wording issue, which they have since updated a bit along with the promise of 100 Primo Gems as an apology. However, members of the Chinese player base are still upset and have gone as far as to report MiHoYo for the encouragement of video game gambling, fraud, and false advertising. From there, calling for refunds and physical receipts.
So fanbase is going a bit hard on MiHoYo, but yeah, I can understand that.
Which must be complied with according to Chinese laws. And this is an especially bad look because as of August 30th, China announced certain restrictions on the playtimes of minors. Now currently in effect as of September 1st, minors can only play video games for an hour on Fridays, weekends, and holidays, and are completely banned from playing during the school week. So yeah, MiHoYo could really do without the bad press in their home country. Now, we've covered a few controversies on this channel thus far, and so I know that some of you guys watching this may feel like the Beidou situation in particular is a bit blown out of proportion, and fair enough, but I will say that this may lead into another issue to be found with the Raiden Shogun, and that is her restrictive team placement. Beidou, if not for this caveat, may have very well been one of the Shogun's best team pairings, and was one that I had in mind for a little while now.
Yeah, I'm not really into Beidou. I combined the new Raiden Shogun with my Hutao, with a Zhongli shield, and also with Xingxie. He does his Warlock stuff with Zhongli, but big fat shield and the Raiden Shogun with energy recharge and stuff, and using mainly my Hu Tao as a main DPS, switching to Raiden when she has her ult up and then the full chakra circle and go bazookas. Bazookas.
The fact that Beidou is a
It's insane.
free-to-play friendly character
I
that
have
has
fun.
very recently been given out for free would have been so great for the free-to-play community.
But yeah, imagine if you play Beidou, got it to C6 and with your main. I would be angry as well.
But with her off the
That's not
candidate
cool.
list, things don't look so good. Now, mind you, a lot of the gameplay you may end up seeing of the Raiden Shogun on this platform and others will be at least at Constellation 2, and that includes my own. At Constellation 2, Raiden really comes together, and it would seem that she was balanced with C2 very much in mind. And so without it, there is an emptiness to be had, which isn't so great for free-to-play players. And at that, I will say that it is really fascinating to me that her best constellation is this early on, as opposed to being her C6 like many other characters. That to me comes across as a monetization strategy on the part of miHoYo, which I'm not mad about at all, but if it means stunting the character's base capabilities, now that is something that I find fault in. Honestly, if you are free to play and you are looking for an Electro character to serve as a battery or good sub DPS, I would say that Fischl works just fine. In fact,
the thing is, if you don't have a good constellation on Fischl like 4 or 5, 6, and I wouldn't really recommend Fischl. I have Fischl on only C2, that's the big thing. This is why I rolled on BAAL, because I needed some Electro. I would play with it, and yeah. Coaching is terrible with Electro. I completely built her on physical damage. That was another thing. And finally I have a pure Electro character.
A lot more flexible for different team compositions.
Also Kujo-Sara is insane. I nearly have on C6 and yeah, hope for the best, because you get a 60% crit damage increase when you use her E ability opposite her burst for all party members. That's insane.
But don't get me wrong, the Shogun is fun, but for the sake of garnering sufficient stacks of her ult, you will need to be running characters with heavy energy requirements who, if given the field time the Shogun is bound to consume, would be able to charge up their bursts anyways. And very few things in the game can even withstand that many powerful burst attacks. Not to mention that the bursts of these units are highly incentivized to be Electro. And so with all these stipulations and criteria in mind, we are somewhat limited to Razor, Lisa, apparently not Beidou, and Kujo-Sara. And side note, Kujo-Sara was tailor-made for the Shogun, both in terms of her story and her gameplay.
If it's true with the gameplay, I'm gonna combine them, of course. But I still need to build Kujo-Sara. That's what I'm missing.
Honestly, guys, compared to the likes of Bennett, aside from her C6, which also prioritizes Electro characters, she is nothing to go crazy over mechanics-wise. And when it comes to the Raiden Shogun, she is the support of a support. Go figure. At the end of the day, I just want everyone who plays with the...
I just need everything to boost my Hu Tao. This is the most important thing. Boost my Hu Tao, or you're not going into my team.
Raiden Shogun to have a good time. I also really hope miHoYo does actually buff Electro in some way.
Yeah, that's true.
In the form of a top-tier Electro artifact set, a change to Electro resonance, or even reactions. Something just really needs to be done, because to be real with you, for the longest time I did not have a single Electro character built up until Eula came around and I needed them for support. Eula is my ultimate enemy delete button, and so the Shogun working well.
Yeah, first physical damage monster, it's insane.
At the very least, is great for me. A reality worth recognizing is that whales and or heavy spenders will always be the minority when it comes to games like this. Free-to-play players and light spenders make up the majority and deserve to be listened to and rightfully appreciated, because they will always be the back.
That's true, like miHoYo needs to adjust to it. They obviously gonna buff her, I think, to adjust it more to the free-to-play base, or they will lose players. That's stupid if they don't do anything.
Backbone of the player base. However, as a company, miHoYo reasonably wants to incentivize spending as much as they possibly can, but shafting the majority is not the right way to do that. Free-to-play players inherently have a lot less to lose by leaving the game. Most times it may feel like miHoYo only listens when the Chinese community is in an uproar, but ultimately they can only dismiss the desires of the majority for so long. And so if you ever have an issue with the game, I implore you to send in feedback. There has unfortunately been a bit of censorship on the main subreddit when it comes to such things, but big shout out to the Raiden mains community for keeping it real. It can be difficult for some to recognize the faults in things that they enjoy, but it is certainly worth doing in the pursuit of betterment. Now, to my free-to-play players, I'm curious how much you care about all this. Do you believe that these concerns are justified, or is everyone just overreacting? Venti and Zhongli, to me, are very much the best at what they do. They can provide incredible levels of...
That's true. Venti and his Vortex is insane. This Vortex carried me through the entire game. If you have multiple enemies, and Anemo got also buffed because of a new enemy type, they can now be sucked in by this Vortex, and now Venti is as strong as ever. It's insane. And Zhongli, Mega Shield, Petrify on his ultimate, and the insane ultimate burst damage. These are great characters. You can't go wrong with Zhongli and with Venti. But yeah, BAAL is something to think about. Is he really something you need really in your team? I don't know. But in mine, it's going well.
Utility to the vast majority of team compositions. Venti for crowd control and Zhongli for shielding. Yet the Raiden Shogun, from her burst buffing to her energy generation, do not feel nearly as indispensable. And her C0 as compared to theirs is a bit sad. Locking her true power behind constellations is a travesty. A character should never be balanced around constellations under any circumstances. And although we've mostly been talking about C2, it is with C6 that she more or less feels especially unique on account of lowering the burst cooldowns of all teammates.
What I actually recommend is that you go for actual 4 stars and max them out to C6. If you're lucky with C6 4 stars, then build them to a max. Have you ever seen one Sucrose of Elemental Mastery on C6? She completely deletes everything. Also, if you have a good weapon for maybe Noel, like the Skyward Sword, yeah, the Skyward Sword, which gives her energy recharge, it's also insane. If you're a C6 Noel, if you're a C6 Racer, he's basically a 6-star in my opinion. Even Bennett. These are just crazy characters. And I admire these C6 versions more than a C2 version of any legendary hero.
But at this stage of the game, no fight is ever dragging on for that long. Given how good she is with Eula, I can barely get a single rotation in at times before the fight is over. This is all stuff that should have been sorted out during the beta testing, same as with Yoimiya, but here we are anyway. I at least hope that we can get more difficult content that sticks around besides the Spiral Abyss to truly make the most of her, but
we need that endgame content. Man, come on. We need more of this challenging stuff.
But I'm sure that will come in due time. And I sure hope that you will come back to the channel sometime by subscribing to WhaleStat with notifications on. I've been your host, Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day.
So, it doesn't really suck the C0 or C1. She is pretty decent, but yeah, the community is in uproar, at least in China. I haven't heard anything of that. My Shogun does her thing well. And yeah, so Mirio just needs to adjust to the masses, or we're gonna lose money. That's of course the possibility. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just me, Wafer, who did a reaction on this fellow content creator. Well said. Subscribe to him if you enjoyed his content or like his video or dislike his video. The same applies to mine as well. So thanks for watching. Wafer out.